I've really been trying to crack on with this, but I want to update you a little bit on this section before I go any further, because I really like the Group D products. I like Group D as a company. It helps that old D-Mac is quite, you know, quite a famous drift driver, drifted in Formula D and that, so you know, it's nice to use his products. They're good stuff. So I want to just get into basically prepping for putting the rear firewall kit into the car. So just to show you, so there's these side panels to go in. Now I'm going to have to trim them a little bit. I presume there's a little bit of trimming needed to get it to exactly go into the space. And on top of that, I've got my plates for my roll cage here that aren't exactly the right shape. So I'm presuming they go in about there. Same at this side, I'm going to have to trim that. Now, this is the bed panel for the fuel cell to sit on. And you can see that they're notched. And these notches are to suit the original mouldings on the rear panel. You can see I've kind of like roughly marked it out with pen over here, and where I'm going to cut it out. I'm really hoping this is going to tidy up the back, because obviously there's been a lot of welding and farting about here. It needs to be tidied up, and that'll just, you know, get rid of that hopefully. So that is the plan for that. So we've got this panel here, we've got these side panels, we've got these nice side panels that'll go down here, or more likely this one goes over here. This is the back panel up here, and on top of here back windscreen, and we've got this aluminium panel that's shaped to go on the back window. So it's taken a minute to suss out how this kit's going to go together with this firewall kit. For a start, I was trying to work off of these kind of top side plates, but my roll cage mounts go onto the top, which is a little bit different, so I've had to mark out and try and get a better profile going round about them, which is not a problem. So the question's always been, how do I line these up? And I think the best way to do it in this kit is to start with this piece. You can see it's cut to go into the shape of the firewall of the back of the car. And I've used the side pieces, you see this one here, to measure down. They've got little tabs underneath them. I don't know if you can see it. They're pushed right back. And yeah, the back plate goes in there. And I think once you're happy with everything, you've got your shape cut and you're happy where it's going to go, which I am. There's clearance for the differential. The only reason I've kind of left the diff in to do this is to make sure there's clearance. And I think I'll take it all out, I'll clamp it together and I'll tack it all together, and then I'll lift it all in and use that assembly to line up the side plates.
T-loader for 4 rounds, and then T-loader for 4 rounds. Average start to the seat.
Right, so this is where we're at. I've tacked. What I've done is, I see Mr. DMAC himself probably used a spot welder for welding these panels, but I don't have a spot welder, so I've drilled holes and I'm just going to weld spots in, and I can buff them flat and you won't see them, so it just saves the whole panel warping out of shape. I don't have to weld the whole lot. It's going to be strong enough, and I'll get some welds in there, some tacks in there, and when it's painted it'll all get seam sealed and it'll be fine. I have spent a bit of time trimming and getting the side section ready. Put a straight edge across. This leans forward a bit here. A straight edge across to make sure that this is lining up, and we will weld it and buff it up. I'll do a better job than that, but and that looks good. Right, so I'm hopefully gonna film a bit of doing this side, because that was a little bit of trial and error. I'm happy with that now, so let's do this side. Lamp. So I've run out of MIG wire and I've run out of gas effectively at the same time. So I've got all the panels kind of tacked in. All tacked in there just to be finished welding. And I've got this aluminium section I'm just trimming down, go in like this, and it's going to fit in like that. I'm just trimming the sides, and I suppose I could get that drilled and bolted in. And then try the windscreen on. Okay. I should really be having a clean up, but I'm just trying to get cracked on with this. It'd be fine to get this kind of finished, which I'm not going to, so yeah, okay.
A few moments later.
Right, so I'm just going to show you this when I've got the chance. I've put the old screen on. There's the old screen with the old SB body tech there. And luckily I've got these little glory holes up here that I cut earlier. And the last time I had vents on it, so I'll be putting a new screen on here. when it goes back together, but the actual aluminium part has to be lifted up a bit. It doesn't sit flush with the metal and the frame of the car, so be wary when you're drilling the holes. And there we go, drilling the holes there. I think this has turned out pretty damn well. Now, a little note to anybody that's following this as a bit of procedure. You'll notice that when this is bolted in, it sits proud of the chassis there. You'll notice there's a gap in between here, and that's because it has to sit up to touch the windscreen. Now, I'll take this opportunity to explain what I'm doing with fuel cell. So that is my fuel cell mounts down there. I want the fuel cell to sit low and behind the axle, because I think that's where the grip is. I think that's what's hanging the weight off the back of the car. The car used to be a lot more grippy when the fuel cell was hanging out the back. Also, I'm copying such people as James Dean and Dwayne McKeever, who have got very fast cars. Now, there is a problem with having your fuel cell down here and as far over to the left as it is passenger side. For weight, it gets in the way of the exhaust. Now, I thought about a few different ways of doing the exhaust. I thought about putting out the side of the car, which is against a lot of regulations. I thought about putting through the back quarter, which again, against a lot of regulations. So I think I'm just going to run the exhaust past the fuel cell. I'm still going to keep the fuel cell down here, but I'll just run the kind of exhaust in behind and coming out over here, and I'm going to put some fireproofing round about the fuel cell. So the kit from Group D, I bought this extra bar, which is this one here. Now that goes on to there, and I'll just put the camera on the mount and show you how you can have your fuel cell mounted if you're using this kit yourself. You might want to have your fuel cell sitting up here, so fuel cell could go up there, and I could put this onto here, and there's mounts that go along and mount into here. Now, I could do that. That would be probably easier for the exhaust system, because it would just mean I could run the exhaust system underneath the fuel cell rather than around the side of it. The weight's higher up in the car, further forward, still behind the axle, so it should be okay, but yeah, I'm going to have a think about what I'm going to do about this. Another thing it's going to affect where my radiator goes, but if I was to cut out this panel, like a lot of people do, I could in theory have the radiator going into that hole, so maybe I have to try that. Now, there's one thing I want to do before I wrap up this video, and I've had this, where have I put it? One thing I want to do before I wrap up this video is I've had this radium coolant expansion tank sitting in my cupboard for the last 2 years. I'd like to try it on, see where it's going to fit. So I'm thinking it has to be on the passenger side. I'm thinking it'll sit up maybe about there. Maybe just underneath there maybe. I think that'll work fine. I could have it over here, I suppose, and make a difference, does it? Yeah, right over there on top of the shock tower, I think will be fine. Right, the final thing I want to look at, and before I move on to something else, is I'm going to look at fitting my radium expansion tank. I've had this sitting in my cupboard for the last 2 years, and yeah, it'd be nice to get something like that lined up. So just show you an example where I'm going to fit it. I think it's going to go maybe here, I think. I still want it to be within the confines of the screen. I'm going to be cutting a hole in the screen, obviously, because of where the firewall is going to be. But I would like very much that to sit there. Oh. Right, I'm going to wrap this up for another episode of the Pro Vlog. The Group D firewall kit installed. I think this would have taken bloody ages without the kit. And I mean, when you see the kit laid out, you think, oh, it's just bits of sheet metal, but they're all profiled really well. The kit goes in really well. There's space for the winter's quick change when you put the kit in. It also helps because I'm going to be running water hoses, and I'm going to be able to put a bulkhead down here, and it's just going to look a lot tidier. Now, I showed you the two options with the fuel cell up in the back or down at the bottom. I think it'll work both ways. I think I'm going to stick to my guns and go with my original choice of run the fuel cell down in the back here. Although I think it would work with the fuel cell up here. This kit allows a lot of room for fresh air to get into the radiator, which I really like. So we're going to stick to that. Now I'm going to confess a little bit here. This, if you haven't guessed it, this build's going a lot longer than it was really meant to. This is not a passion project, it's not a show car, this is a race car. And yeah, I'm not making it to the race at the moment. But we're all positive, we're getting there, we're doing bits here and there. We will get there, this will be done, it will finish, it will run. The chassis is almost done. I've just basically mount bodywork really. Mount bodywork, there's a roll cage bar to go in, there's lots of little holes to fill, and yeah, just basically like finishing off, prep the car, get the engine in and the drivetrain back in, and I can start mounting things like oil coolers, oil filters, stuff like that, front crash bar to be made. I mean, we'll get there, we'll get there. So thank you very much for supporting the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit that